Hello, this is Grant, and welcome back to episode 17 of Dead Rising 2 Master Run. Today we're going to start off with a psychopath fight. It's a pretty big fight in the game. We're going to be taking on the two twins from Terror's reality. So, their thing is essentially they respond to the fact that TK saw that Chuck messed up his operation of stealing stealing from all the vaults in the city. And since TK is the one who blamed it all on Chuck, he doubly doesn't want Chuck going around and getting information out. So these gals are here to deal with you. I think the animation is like really well done on these two, just like the way they do like their facial expressions. Like they obviously put a lot of work into them. That's, I guess, the rest of the game doesn't always have. The main characters are pretty good in general, but some of the side characters are obviously pretty much just kind of stock stuff shuffled around. I don't know, some of the innuendos are a bit too much, but they're entertaining. It's kind of cool that that's their shtick. It'd be a little bit better if there wasn't already like other characters that do that. Like obviously the Here Comes the Groom is also kind of, I guess, along the same comedic lines. But so these two have potential to be a really tough boss fight because there's two of them. They hit very hard. Almost all the healing items in the room are alcohol, so you can't drink more than 3. So that's not great for you. And Rebecca can die. It's pretty unlikely, but it's possible. What is nice is you only have to kill one. So you just kind of pick one, focus on her, and you should be fine. If you bring some painkillers in this fight, it's not that bad at all. I felt terrible. I actually had a really amazing fight with these guys that I lost the footage for, where I was doing this amazing like dodge, shotgun blast to the face, dodge, and it was just awesome, and then lost the footage for it. So sadly, you're gonna have to take my B-roll of not being as good. They can be a weird fight though, because it's gonna really rely on their AI. You can't really do anything when they're together like that, both running at you, just because one's gonna hit you and they always interrupt you. So ideally, if you can get one alone, like dodge their attacks. I think they only have a set number of attacks they can hit with. So if you can do that, go in, hit a couple times, dodge out before the other one gets there and whatnot. Also, usually, like I follow her because she'll go off and taunt or just try to reset her pattern. Basically, right now I'm being kind of a, I don't know. I know it's a legitimate strategy, but it does seem exploitive. Just if you drink a painkiller and have like knife gloves or guns, you can almost always out damage them. So just run at them and just keep hitting, because they're doing half damage to you and you just got a full heal. As you can see, like I'm just shrugging this off. I can still knock you down, which is unfortunate, but for the most part, I'm just gonna keep going at her and just like let her hit me. It's very common in Dead Rising that you have boss fights where it's like you can hit them twice and get away, or hit them 3 times and then they hit you. And that's actually really important, is do you want to go for the third strike or not? Because it's a 50% increased damage, but then you have stuff like that where they will hit you. You cannot get away fast enough. So here, I only had to kill one, and the other one's gonna take care of herself for me. So that's kind of nice. It is annoying if you don't know that going into your first fight. If you get both really low, it makes for a much tougher fight. I felt that all of us line was really odd. Like I thought for a second when I was first playing this, like, is it gonna turn out they have like a clone factory of these, like all these chicks, and there's like hundreds of them or something, or they have like a hive mind? I thought it was a little weird. It could have been they intended to go off and like maybe there was gonna be a whole family of these chicks that all look the same and they're gonna keep reoccurring in the series, but to my knowledge, that's not the case. It would be kind of out of place in my mind. But they're cool characters. Like they're really well done for what they could just be, just like a bunch of innuendo spouting random like side characters, but for some reason I think they come off as really interesting. So the reason you came here is they were the source of the videotape Rebecca Chang actually put out that got Chuck, I guess, accused of doing this whole outbreak. And that is a fake. I think I commented on the very beginning that There's when you actually first see those two girls from outside the game show, you go with one who's just like sitting in the dressing room talking to you, and as you leave, the other one comes in, and I'm pretty sure that's like she's leaving from just shooting that videotape. I don't think it was her because she was there when the bomb went off, and if you watch the videotape, it happens like right away. So, but I do have my suspicions. I think actually Dead Rising has some really cool like little lore points, but it's not a game where you really care about them. Like my favorite one is like when someone pointed out in Dead Rising 1 how the zombies came up like to be out of a failed beef experimentation, like genetic mutation to make it more like resilient and easier to farm. And actually, like I think I mentioned this before, at the beginning of this game, they even make a comment about beef shortages, which is a very, very slight nod towards that. But anyway, ends up, I guess, somehow spreading to these bugs, or maybe they were in the bugs originally. They don't ever actually say, but I suspect it was like something along the lines of the cows were basically zombie cows, and then it spread to the bugs. And then they had some reaction where now it was essentially an airborne virus or parasite. Point being is it ends up destroying this town of Santa Cabeza, which is the hometown of the Keys, which are Carlito, the antagonist, and Isabella, who you don't see in this game but is mentioned once or twice, who's working on the cure. And essentially, he blames like this American, I don't know if it's a government initiative, but he blames them for how they killed his entire town just because they wanted like more food. Well, then when you actually, this is gonna be a little spoiler here, when you actually end up encountering him before he dies, you do so in a butcher's like meat processing plant, and it's kind of fitting that he would die there. It's like a very cool little story element that's honestly pretty deep, and there's no reason they need to do it. They could have just put the boss fight anywhere, but it's actually, if you want to look for it, it's surprisingly Dead Rising has some really cool little elements like that. So I'm actually really thankful. I like games that do that. Like, I'm a big fan of like Dark Souls, which the entire story is just kind of implied. But what's nice is with Dark Souls is pretty much everything is technically canon. Whereas like with other games, it'd be something like you look at, say, like Borderlands, where their respawn system isn't technically canon. You don't actually die, so it's like oh, ignore that. But like Dark Souls, like everything is canon. So like you getting like other players joining your game, that's the way that works is canon. Or just like any like arbitrary item placement is canon. Like there might be a dude and he died there, and you can kind of like there's a reason you can kind of, I guess, like retroactively think about like, oh, this is probably why he died or who he was in life. So when the stuff like Dead Rising has that, it's pretty cool. Like you can think like, oh wait, yeah, you can kind of see like, oh, I can probably see how this story developed to get to that point. When really it could just be like, oh, it could just be a dress-up zombie game. That's what Dead Rising could be. Which it's more than that. I'm thankful. So the Bull Skull and the Flaming Bull Skull have to be like the number one weapon that I have found in the Master Run. I had never used this before, like using the Master Run. I think I've used a couple other ones, but they're difficult to make. Like you can get the servobot head one if you have a lawnmower and a servobot head, and it's functionally the same. I think there's another one too, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But they work the same. You can charge and whatnot. Oh, you can make one of the moose antler things. Either you can get the real one at one point in the game from from the game show, and it's also possible to make a fake one. But what's great about the cow skull or the bull skull is you can just grab it if you want more damage, because it's actually a pretty good psychopath weapon. You can light it on fire with motor oil, and just it's so efficient to be able to move fast. Like it's the replacement for, in one there was a skateboard, but it was really hard to use with zombies around, even more so in this game. But this, it's just like you can carry it with you. It's like a cart you have on you at all times, and you just lets you get from point A to point B so fast. Plus, unlike the skateboard, which can only take like 3 hits in both games, you can just literally plow through zombies. I try to avoid them just because you want it to last, but it's pretty unavoidable. Unfortunately, it's a heavy item, so you can't carry it with you if you switch away, and if you get hit, it falls off. So, that's unfortunate. So we have a psychopath up here. I think this is another like cool little psychopath idea. His thing is he ends up attacking Chuck because he has some like has this obsession of always getting the mail on time and sticking to his motto of like no sleet nor hail. I don't know it. I think he might say it though here. And Chuck is the one that he says like he's done this for years and has never been late on anything every single day. So, and all of a sudden Chuck comes in and just ruins everything. So he's a pretty easy psychopath. That's basically the slogan. But I don't know, I could totally see him as being that guy. Maybe not going straight to like a shotgun. But, yeah. He is a cool psychopath in my mind. They pretty much all are. They're all really good. I mean, there's a couple I may not be a big fan of, but generally the psychopaths are like the best writing of this game. I've talked before, it's basically they take like one stereotype and think like either really exaggerate it or what would it be like if this person cracked from this pressure. In a way, like, I don't think this guy's crazy. He knows what he's doing. Like, I assume he has these just because he's prepared to deal with these zombies. Like, he's not inherently crazy. He knows what he's doing, but he's just, like, insane in a different way. It's a nice, pretty simple fight. That's what I like. Like, it's not hard. There's food right around the corner. This whole thing takes place right in front of the sports store, so you can go get plenty of good weapons. He has a shotgun, but he's pretty inaccurate with it. So, and you get Zombrex when you're done. Plus, it's right next to the safe room. So, there's that. I do wish it gave you some kind of spawn. Like, say a shotgun was always there after this fight. Or, even better, if they let you use the car. I would love that. I wish that would have been the thing, because that would have been a very nice addition. Because at this point, if you, oh, it's a little glitch there. So I went to go through it, like throw it accidentally, and then I guess I held down X before I put it back on, so I just charged with my head. It's a neat little thing. So he's not that hard. I think I'm just going to kind of wail on him. There's also like the bow and arrow over there. His biggest issue is going to be those packages. You can dodge them, but you'll notice what happens a lot to me is if he hits you and you like stumble, you don't take any damage, but it's going to be impossible for you to get out of the explosion range in time. So here I'm just going to kind of, you can stun lock him with these. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's something. You can get on the roof of this little kiosk. That helps. There's also orange juice immediately like right over here-ish, I think. I think it actually like flew around from that explosion a little bit. There's also food right here. It's very important to know the food in the beginning area of the game, like Paradise Plaza or Royal Flush Plaza, because this stuff you'll have to grab so many times. They give you 2 coffee creamers here, which are usually full heals, unless you're max level. But yeah, I've said it plenty of times that really Dead Rising is only difficult because like people don't understand it. If you know the spawns, really there's actually a lot of stuff there to help you. It's just kind of hard to find or know about. Or like a lot of the psychopaths have huge weaknesses that you just don't know how to exploit. Like I think about like Adam the Clown's a great example. Like I can consistently kill Adam the Clown without him ever hitting me. But if you don't know his weakness, it's like, oh, he does massive melee damage. He blocks all your shots. It just looks like it's the most bullshit boss in the game. Or you know how like his weakness with the whole balloon thing, and then you just grab one pistol and proceed to completely destroy him. I do like this guy. I could be doing this fight a little bit better, like if I wanted to go heal up. But a lot of times I like to see like how much can I mess around with it. I like how like floaty his throws are. I like making it interesting, seeing like, oh, can I get this? Because I could feasibly like actually carry around a ton of food. That's less preferable. So luckily I have these sniper rifles. Surprisingly, he's got range, and that does a lot of damage. So here I'm just like trying to be very, just squeeze it through. It looks like I hit him though. You can tell by the slowdown, which the slowdown's the best time to do like an epic little pose. You pretty much gotta if you can. So It is interesting. He turns around. He actually gives it to you, and then the dude just blows up, like he kills himself, because like I assume he doesn't want to be zombified. I always thought like this is actually like really dark for this game. Like you just like they don't actually show like limbs anywhere or whatnot, but there is just like an explosion and then a giant blood pile, and it's like that's really dark. I mean, other like deaths are like implied elsewhere, but I don't know. This just seems like actually seeing like someone like blow themselves up. That seems like a little bit much for this game. Like I said, it's heavily censored, but yeah. It does seem like Chuck doesn't even make like an argument like, hey dude, safe house is right there, let's just forget this. You'll get out, I won't say anything. Like he doesn't try, he's like, screw this guy. That being said, it could be totally darker, like if they put like 2 of the hands, like those meat objects, around him after it blew up. That would be a little bit too much. So I don't know for sure, but I think it's actually possible to cut off some zombies' hands and it'll become that object. It's hard to tell. Like it might have been just I didn't see that they were holding it, but I think it is possible if you like get like a perfect like slice with a sword, which is kind of neat. Like that's a nice little attention to detail, but at the same time, that's weird. It's a little weird in my mind. So, one thing I liked about doing this master run and having time is just going through and reading some of these signs. Like they put a lot of detail. And actually, in Dead Rising 2, they make a lot more jokes with their signs. Like in Dead Rising 1, they're pretty much like they're actual objects. Like I was talking about, like there's a newspaper in Dead Rising 1. It's like that was like actually talking about a company I worked for. I was like, what? It really caught me off guard because I assumed they were all just like fake stores and fake industries and stuff. But some of them are real in Dead Rising 1. It's weird. It's really realistic too. And then in this game, they do like everything is like zombie themed. Like all the bars sell this, like if you actually look at the beers, they're all labeled Zombeer and stuff like that, or just like other jokes, like all the sales are listed are like related to zombies and whatnot, or all the dishes. That's kind of cool, like nice little subtle humor. I mean, I'm sure it was important for the guy who had to go and like make all these small objects. He's got to stay entertained somehow, you know. And I guess that's how. It's like he's a closet comedian or something, and that's his way of expressing it. So, as you can see, we have a lot of Zombrex. We have 4. So we are not going to be running out anytime soon. I wish there was an option to turn off the cries of the survivors in the safe room. Especially in 1, because they literally just like cry. And that's pretty annoying. Just like as you're passing through. Particularly they always use the same quotes. Like, oh, what are we doing here? I'm looking at you. The lady from the first game is the first survivor from the first game is the worst. It's almost enough that I just don't want to rescue her. Oh my god. And this one, it's just like there's so many more survivors in there because they include survivors that like got out in the initial outbreak. So there's already some there, and that's there for a certain reason. Later on, I'll talk about that. There's a reason they already have survivors in the safe room, even if you never saved any particularly. So. Plus, I think they also wanted to make sure it just had a better feel. Because it's not like Dead Rising 1 where you had to go out and save these people. It's just like a random location. It is a safe house. And I'm surprised, one thing is, so like the main entrance is blocked off. It's that orange door you come in the beginning. I'm surprised there's no scoop that's like people trying to get in and you have to make the decision to like open the door and let them in or not. Because it looks like the way that was designed is you could like conceivably... It's a 2-door system, like open up the outer door, someone could quickly rush in with some zombies, and then if they kill off the other zombies, then you could let them in the safe house. That seems to be like the way it was set up. I think those are the only ATMs in Royal Flush Plaza. I talked about it in another episode, but it would be really nice if there's one like just on your normal route so you could kind of farm it. But here I'm going to start picking up the gambling books. So... yeah, I think right now I'm pausing just to make sure I know all the locations. That's the main thing. I wish there was kind of an in-game wiki that you could build up so you could just check these things. Because, like with magazines, they make a huge difference, but I never remember where they are. Or like, I remember like one is, or it's like in some store somewhere. So, I really like the fact that magazines are a thing. They're stronger in Dead Rising 1 with the actual books, but I like the idea that it's like carry one useless item to make everything else better. I particularly like I said, I like making decisions. I talked about this in another episode. It's cool when you can like decide between two things. Like, is it better to carry another piece of food or carry a magazine that makes food better? So that's kind of cool, and it depends on preference, but I think it makes the game a little more dynamic. I actually really like these nail gloves. They're a little bit more annoying to make than the spike bat, but they're really flexible, and you can make, I want to say, 2 of them per trip, because you just get like, or more actually, you get 2 of the MMA gloves from the store over here to my left, and then you just get some spikes. Plus you can make the knife gloves as well in that little roundabout way. Next we got Hunger Pains, and it's going to be a pretty simple episode. We got the long poker section coming up though, so look forward to that, because I think I'm okay with poker, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, check out one of the links below. Till next time, don't take your zombie safety for granted.